Hello everyone, it is day 2 in the Booktubeathon and I have completed The Perks of Being a Wallflower and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I finished it last night, or this morning rather. I gave this book a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. Not a complete 5 just because the beginning was the tiniest bit slow for me, but it had a really good ending and a really good, it was just a really good story and I really got a lot out of it, and I'm just very glad that I read it. And I have a whole bunch of little post-its in here, so I figured I would just kind of review it now instead of doing a whole nother video for it. This book is used, so there are a whole bunch of little markings already in it, and it was funny because I had also postmarked a whole bunch of the pages that this other person had highlighted, so I thought that was really funny. I wonder who had this book before me, because I just think that's really funny that I postmarked a lot of the same things. The very first thing I postmarked was on page 9, is when Charlie says that To Kill a Mockingbird is now one of his favorite books, and I just really like that because that's a really good classic, and that seems to be a whole lot of people's favorite books, like in people that I know and people characters in books, and that's a very big book in real life and in the fictional world, so I really like that. In this book there's a whole bunch of pop culture references also, so a lot of these postmarks are when Charlie's talking about a certain song, like the first time when he talks about Asleep by the Smiths, or every time Bill gives him a book to read, every time he talks about the Rocky Horror Picture Show, every time he talks about a different song. When he made that cassette tape for Patrick, I postmarked all of those so that I can go and look at those songs and go and look into those books. The majority, like about half of the books that he read, I recognized, but the other half I'm gonna look into because I don't really know what they are. Another postmark that I made was on page 24, and it's when Charlie is talking to Bill and he's telling him about all these different things, and then Bill tells him something about how, Charlie, we accept the love we think we deserve. And I thought that was a very powerful sentence, because that happens a lot to a lot of people. You get treated really badly and you think that you're not going to get treated any better, so you take it. So he was kind of just telling him to not lower his expectations of people and to not lower himself to other people and how they are treating him. I tried to look up the movie on Netflix last night, but it's not on there, so I have to figure out some other way to watch the movie. But I really thought that Charlie was a very complex character. He talks about how he wasn't raised very religiously, but he does believe in God very much. He just never gave God a name, and I just thought that was interesting because of all of the religions that there are and how he believed in something, but he just didn't know if it was like the Christian God or if it was just if the name was God. He just knew that there was a higher power, and I just thought that was kind of interesting. And then on the page after that, I think it was Charlie's dad that told him this, and he says, not everyone has a sob story, Charlie, and even if they do, it's no excuse. And I really like that too, because people love to just say, oh yeah, that I had a horrible childhood, and oh yeah, so-and-so broke up with me, and oh yeah, I got a bad grade, and that's why I did this. That's no excuse. Like, no matter how bad your childhood was, no matter how bad an experience was for you, that doesn't excuse your behavior, and and there's consequences for what you do. Nobody's gonna care about, about so-and-so breaking up with you, and that's why you went and like did a crime. I don't even know. There was another part on page 95. It's part of the January 1st, 1992 journal entry, and it's when Charlie's talking about something, and he references this other person's idea of a heaven. And so this one kid says, and this one kid, Mark, at the party, who gave me this, came out of nowhere and looked at the sky and told me to see the stars. So I looked up, and we were in this giant dome like a glass snowball, and Mark said that the amazing white stars were really only holes in the black glass of the dome, and when you went to heaven, the glass broke away and there was nothing but a whole sheen star of white, which is brighter than anything but doesn't hurt your eyes. It was vast and open and thin and quiet, and I felt so small. And I just thought that was an interesting view on heaven. I'm not a very like existential person. I don't like spend too much time thinking about like just existential things, but I just thought that was a really interesting take on heaven, and how when you die and you go to heaven, you break through this glass dome, and then that's why there's stars, because that hole was you. So I just thought that was really that was a cool take on it. There's another part on page 169 where he's talking about a book that Bill had him read, and that there's a part where there's the newspaper tycoon and the architect, and they're on a boat, and then they're talking, and the one of the people on the boat says, "I would die for you, but I won't live for you." And I thought that was another really cool sentence too, because he's saying that I would die for you, I would sacrifice things for you, but I'm not going to live my life on your behalf. And I just thought that was a really cool sentence, because it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of just saying, like, don't live your life based on other people. Like, you need to make your own path, and you need to just decide for yourself, because in the end it's your life. So if you get to the end of your life and you're like, oh, I wish I would have done this, but I didn't because of so and so, like, you're gonna regret those things. So always should just live for yourself and not for other people. I really liked his teacher Bill. He was a very cool teacher in the fact that he noticed that Charlie was special, like he said, and that he gave him all these extra books to read, and he considered him a friend. And I just really liked that relationship between Charlie and his teacher, because it wasn't anything like Charlie and his parents or Charlie and his friends even. It was just this other adult who saw him and listened to him and understood him. And I felt that was really good for Charlie. And I also really liked the very last page before the epilogue, which was page 206 on this copy. And it's a very long paragraph, so I won't read it. But he basically just says that I hope you have a really nice life, because I really think you deserve it. I really do. I hope you do too. Okay, then goodbye. Throughout this entire book, we don't know exactly who Charlie is writing to, but I kind of felt that Stephen Chbosky wrote this book in the way he did so that the reader felt that Charlie was writing to them. And at least that's what I'm choosing to believe. And I really liked that aspect of the book, because it felt very personal. And there was another paragraph in the epilogue of this book that I really felt kind of got the whole theme of the book and what you're supposed to kind of get out of it. And it's when he says, "So I guess we are who we are for a lot of reasons, and maybe we'll never know most of them. But even if we don't have the power to choose where we come from, we can still choose where we go from there. We can still do things." And I really like that, because Charlie and his family, and well, I mean, Charlie being the main character, he wasn't dealt the best of cards in his life. But he still came out at the end, even going through everything that he went through, even being admitted to the hospital. He still came out thinking that he was going to do better, and that he's going to do better. And I really thought that was a very inspiring part of the book. And of course, there's a whole thing throughout this book that I didn't really understand until I finished the book. I feel like this was one of those books where you read it and then you do most of your thinking after you read the book, because then you start to think about everything that did happen, and you're like, oh, well, did that have something to do with this? And it's like I said, it's just one of those books that you think about after you read it, and even long after. I know that throughout the entire book he keeps talking about his Aunt Helen, and how he eventually tells us that she was molested as a child by a close family member, and how nobody believed her. And so what we get from this is that Charlie was molested by his aunt, and he kept talking about her because that was a very scarring part of his childhood. And so when she died, he kind of felt guilty because she took advantage of his innocence and of his youth to make him feel like he was close to her, and to make him feel like they were best friends, which is why she would, like, I almost want to say bribe him with the two Christmas presents, or the two presents, one on Christmas, one on his birthday, and how she was so nice to him, and how she, made herself his best friend. And it was because she basically wanted to keep him quiet. She took advantage of his quietness, and of, like I said, his youth and his innocence, and the fact that he was the youngest person in the family, and how nobody really completely listened to the youngest person in the family. And so she took advantage of that, and it really scarred him for the rest of his life. And that was one thing I noticed, and it made sense at the end when he was kind of getting intimate with Sam, and he shies away from her because I guess he kind of got a flashback to his aunt. And so I thought that was really nice of Sam when she's like, okay, I know you're not ready, so we're just gonna stop. You can stay here, you can stay the night. She took care of him. But I really feel like the theme of this book, and what I took out of it at least, was that no matter like how bad your experiences are in your life, and no matter what you go through, you can always choose to make the better decision and make your life better. Nobody else is going to make that decision for you. Some people have it really bad, some people have it less bad, more bad. Everybody has something in their life, everybody has something that they struggle with, and it's just how you decide to like deal with those experiences is what makes you you, and what makes you a better person in the end. Because if you choose to just go past these things that happen in your life, and to just not let them drag you down, then that makes you a better person, and makes you a better person for yourself in the end. And I kind of feel like I'm babbling here, but that's just what I think. So yeah, I really love this book. I loved it even more after I finished it, and I was thinking about it. I want to go watch the movie now. I don't know if it's like the same. I've heard it's pretty similar, but I will be the judge of that. So I won down for the Booktubeathon. So I think the next book that I'm going to read, I think I said yesterday, is Night. And it's only 100 pages, so I should be able to finish this before midnight tonight, because I wanted to do a book a day, so I got to finish this tonight. And I'm almost a little bit skeptical. Not skeptical, but I'm like afraid to read this, because I know that it's going to be very just emotionally wearing, if that's the right word. So I plan on reading this tonight. This video kind of just turned into an update and a book review, and then at the end of this I will put my challenge video, which was to reenact the scene. And so I thought of something last night, and I hope it makes sense to any of you who are watching. I'll probably put like the scene and the page number in the doobly-doo down below, so if anybody cares to like look at the page from where I'm trying to reenact this scene, you can go look at that. So let me know what you think about anything, if you got my reenactment scene that I'm going to try and do. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which will be tomorrow. Bye! I'm so much happier now that I'm dead. Technically missing, soon to be presumed dead, but as shorthand, we'll say dead. It's been only a matter of hours, but I feel better already. Loose joints, wavy muscles. At one point this morning, I realized my face felt strange, different. I looked in the rearview mirror, dread Carthage 43 miles behind me, my smug husband lounging around his sticky bar as mayhem dangled on a thin piano wire just above his shoddy oblivious head, and I realized I was smiling. Ha! That's new.